So the album is great. I heard it, all of it, yesterday. Which song is your favorite?
It's like choosing your own kids.
हाँ.
It's very hard.
And you've spent so much time हर गाने को construct करने में, उसका पूरा details में जाने में, right? Because I know you've told me that before also.
I think सबसे is they say that you have a lifetime to make your first album and 2 years to make the second one. No, it's an old saying about artists.
अच्छा.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
हमें बताया जाता है. You can spend your life making the first one because it kind of embodies expressions and feelings and events in your life that have happened subsequent to that. And so that's what Main Tera for me is. It's when I keep telling everybody, I'm like, it's a very personal album to me, and they're like, how is it personal? मतलब गाने ही है ना, मतलब सब गाने बनाते हैं. And I agree. It's just that whenever I speak to any fellow musicians or artists, तो specifically songs जो आपके जिनको आप independent कहते हैं, or songs that you've made for yourself or at points in your life, that's what Main Tera is for me. It's all the songs in there come from very specific point that I know of. Some things people around me know of. So that's why it's very I guess more than hard. मेहनत तो हम हर project पे करते हैं or that we're working on, but I think it's very personal because I know that some song I may have composed when I was heartbroken as a 13-14-year-old. One song I may have composed when
my memories से inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So they've been like part of this bank. And so that's where they've come from. So for me, Main Tera as an album is much more than success or failure or hit or flop entirely. It's something that I want to be part of my body of work or discography in my life. It's there. So it kind of supersedes all of those things. So whenever like the marketing team or the distribution team says things like ये वाला ज़्यादा चलेगा and all, it matters. I'm somebody who cares about numbers and cares about those things, but it doesn't matter that much for me. अगर मैं इस एल्बम में से कोई एक बंदा आके कहता है ना कि यार मैंने वो गाना सुना था, मेरा दिल खराब था और अच्छा सही हो गया, that's enough, honestly. हाँ,
to inspire some of that feeling into someone else who's listening it. लेकिन ये सारे गाने बहुत romantic हैं ज़्यादातर. I think they're all romantic, which means your personal journey has been a very romantic one.
Possibly.
Oh, there are so many secrets to Azaan, Sami Khan,
I
that you do
don't
not know. अच्छा, तो but the thing is कि जब कोई चीज़ इतनी personal होती है जिसमें that you pour your feelings into it, it's a creative project, तो उसे दुनिया के सामने कभी-कभी लाना भी मुश्किल होता है because you're revealing the pieces of you, of the way you are, of what you think. Did that ever?
It did, honestly, because something that people around me, I found myself procrastinating in putting it out for a long time. When I sometimes think about it, I'm like maybe probably 6 महीने पहले निकल जाती. But I found myself like resisting कि चलो एक और single कर लेते हैं, So Main Tera came, then Tu came, then with एक लम्हा we were thinking कि अच्छा क्योंकि universal format these days is 2 to 3 singles and the album.
And then you put out the
whole
album.
album.
You create noise with the singles
exactly,
and then you put out the album.
So but I kept pushing, I was like, अच्छा, then when it came to Jadugari, right? Then maybe again, I'm a big believer कि खुदा जब चाहता है कोई चीज़ वो उसी वक्त होगी, and I guess this is the right time for it. But it was something that I definitely found myself pushing, and it's funny that we're shooting this interview right now. One of the two people shooting it, Shazeb and Daniel, are my childhood friends, and they know for a fact that I've been wanting to make an album since I was like 13 years old. They're my school friends.
और बनाई तो you kept putting it off?
No, so that's a whole other album just exists. मेरे पास अभी भी गाने रखे हुए हैं, and I never put them out.
Why?
I don't know.
Do you think people will not like them, or do you just want to not reveal that personal side?
Possibly. I don't know. I have all those songs. There are about, I think, 12-13 songs. And उनकी कहीं कुछ melodies मैंने use की हैं इधर उधर. But it's something that I was very clear on. Many fellow musicians and like artists who are friends of mine, they said, तुम क्यों album कर रहे हो? Album की वो, it's not
Singles
that time.
क्यों नहीं करते?
क्यों नहीं कर रहे? And since I was very young, I was very clear that I wanted to be an artist that चाहे उनकी जितनी भी बड़ी या छोटी fan base हो, they know कि every couple of years this person comes and gives us a body of work to live with. That's what artists that I have grown up listening to have done for me. And they've played that huge role in my life. You know, somebody people that I continue to listen to, there's a certain, you may not know them personally, but they've played this very pivotal role in your life. आपको पता है कि मैं उनके गाने, they're such a constant part of your life कि more than a fan, they become part of you. You know, it's like, I know that, for instance, obviously some of them are not alive anymore, unfortunately, but they've left behind so much that every emotion that you feel, there's something to go to. And I felt that a single, you know, if I just do singles, logically, मैं साल में कितने कर लूँगा, you know, 7-8 कर लूँगा. There are many factors that come in, economics come in, the business side of it comes in. Then when you get to a single, you're always thinking, hit क्या होगा?
हाँ, of course. You want that one song that
Absolutely,
everybody will like
absolutely.
and listen to.
Yeah. And somebody who close to me once said to me, I don't want to name them, he said
Secret.
he said that हर गाना hit होना नहीं चाहिए. Now इसका क्या मतलब है?
कुछ गाने आपके खुद के लिए होने चाहिए.
Exactly.
और कुछ गाने मार्केट के लिए.
Exactly, because when you start thinking just as a single, even as a composer, I will immediately lean towards melodies जो मुझे पता catchy हैं, हर बंदा सुनना चाहेगा. You know what I'm saying? Instead of going like, oh no, this melody may not become a hit, but for sure somebody is going to resonate with it. A lot of factors null it out in terms of like economics and business and blah blah blah. And it's like, can we invest this much money to shoot the video, market it, promote it, etc. So that's why an album becomes important, that you end up having those 2 or 3 songs that I would like to believe, like for instance, Michael Jackson had a song called Human Nature, right? And songs like that, they're not necessarily, I'm pretty sure, like recent, if I think off the top of my head, there's a song called Joker and the Queen in Ed Sheeran's album. I can guarantee studios would not have conventionally thought that, or like labels, that this song should be the one we bank on. But once that song came out and it slid under the radar and became a hit, and then everybody started listening to it. So I feel those songs are equally important, and an album is the only thing that allows you to do it.
हाँ. It's very important for the artist. वाकई with a single you're just thinking about the market. तो इसमें कौन से गाने हैं? मैं तेरा में, मुझे तो सारे गाने ऐसे लगे, they are foot tapping numbers. They have even if they move through different highs and lows, they are upbeat generally. They are technically difficult songs. मुझे लगा, because you know you have so many high and low pitches in it. There's such a range in the music. इसमें कौन से गाने हैं जो मार्केट के लिए कम और आपके लिए ज़्यादा?
So when I began the album, I had a certain rebellion in mind कि जो चीज़ें मुझे conventionally, before that I had done film scores and film soundtracks. The things that conventionally producers मुझे नहीं करने देंगे, that's what I want to do on the album. So there was a certain sense of rebellion, whether it's in terms of the sonics of the album, the sound, the way we write the lyrics, the way the melody is phrased and stuff, wasn't conventional. So once we got into that, that was one thing मुझे याद है, शुरू में मैं बड़ा हर किसी को कहता नहीं, वो नहीं करेंगे जो, you know, we'll do everything जो मना किया गया है हमें, you know. But then if I look at the album objectively, जो गाने I think would conventionally, I would say, I know कि मैं, if I'm, you know, playing them to so-called decision makers, would get a demo के the stage पे will get refused. I would say Sajna Re is one of them.
अच्छा.
100%. Like that, it's a song which would not be accepted.
Such a sweet melody though, and like.
Sajna Re is one. Then for traditionally.
Sajna Re is very catchy. You think?
Yeah, it wouldn't. Because it's lyrically, you know, whoever listens to it, it's a dark song. You know, if you really get
into the nitty-gritties.
Yeah, it is a dark song. It's it circles the subject of infidelity and stuff like that. And the point of independent music is that, you know, it's to look at stuff like that. It's to be able to discuss stuff like that. So Sajna Re goes there. It goes in those kind of places. And
I'm going to listen to it from that perspective now, because I heard the whole album yesterday. अब मैं सुनूंगी कि.
Then Ashiki, for instance. So funny enough, the melody for Ashiki was something I had actually made for 2 OSTs, and they both got rejected. and
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And it lived with me for a very long time. And uske baad, when we started making it, now even lyrically, Ashiki is about being in love with somebody, knowing that they're bad for you. We've all been through that. कि हमें पता है कि ये
You've
शख्स-
been through that. Very yes.
we've
You've
all-
had a very good strongly romantic journey through life.
You know that this person's bad for you, and then the line that comes in, which is "कम बख्त लगती बस मेरी तू क्या करूँ है ये आशिकी," which is the line which is that all of us have gone through.
We can all connect with that.
Exactly.
Yes.
कि भाई
Yeah.
you're in love with somebody and you're like ये मेरे लिए खराब है, लेकिन I
Like an addiction.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what the song's about. The thing is, with this album, maybe it might change in the future, but I wanted to try just various genres, various styles, because I'm still very much in the start of my career. So to figure out what people like me doing as well, you know, and see where I fit in their lives, because I'm very clear about one thing, that we're entertainers, right? That's our job. We are not that important in the grand scheme of things, and because that is the truth, it is important that you know, for instance, if I look at artists like Dilip Saab plays a certain role in my life. I'm a huge fan, but he plays a role in my life. When I think of romance, when I think of hero, when I think of that, I think of him. When I think of this icon of music, I'll think of Nusrat Saab, I'll think of Michael Jackson, I'll think of these guys. So we inevitably place somebody in a
I
box.
think you think of your father also.
Absolutely. I'm just trying to not be biased. I'll say that. So I'm like, we place people, right? So similarly, I wanted this album to be kind of open-ended, where people can, it'll be easy, good for me to also see what they like me doing. And then I can go further into that. Potentially the next album might be a little more singular, a little more, you know what I'm
Focused
saying?
on one particular genre.
One particular style. This one I wanted that I didn't want two songs to sound similar.
They don't. They don't sound similar. That's for sure. It's a mix of very diverse sounds, and I think that's what makes it interesting. Album में different flavors for, especially when you're just starting out, you want to offer all the different flavors that you can offer, right? So that's that. अच्छा, you said something अभी that I found very interesting. You said कि ये गाना 2 OSTs के लिए reject हुआ. लोग समझते हैं कि अजान समी खान की कोई चीज़ reject नहीं होती. ये तो सिल्वर स्पून के साथ ही वॉज बॉर्न विद अ सिल्वर स्पून, और ये सब इसे कहते हैं आओ बेटा आओ, हम तुम्हें फिल्म में लेते हैं, ड्रामे में लेते हैं, तुम्हारे गाने प्रोड्यूस करते हैं. आपकी भी चीज़ें रिजेक्ट होती हैं, ये मुझे नहीं पता था, लोगों को बताएं.
देखें, बिल्कुल होती हैं. Firstly, before any of that, I never shy away and deny the fact there's massive privilege that I
know
have.
you don't.
And it's a responsibility. It is something which any child in my position cannot deny it, because I cannot fathom to understand कि जिनके पास वो advantages नहीं है जो आज खुदा ने मुझे दिए हैं, उनके लिए कितना मुश्किल होता होगा. So I can't, I don't claim to say I know those things, and I don't deny the privilege that exists. What I can do in that is put everything I can into everything I do to justify my sitting in a position that I'm sitting in. And absolutely things get rejected, because at the end of the day, we're in a business. जितने भी मेरे वालिदैन के दोस्त यार हों, I may have grown up around certain people, and they may be my uncle and auntie, and I've sucked my thumb in half the people's offices because I grew up there. Doesn't mean that they're not running a business and they don't have thousands of people who they need to employ and pay and run the business. So that is something that I'm very well aware of. Every decision I make is very well aware of the responsibility that exists.
And you are so bored of answering the same question again and again and again.
So I'll tell you something interesting. I directed a short film when I was 13.
Acha.
I'm 27 right now. I've answered the same question for 15 years now.
You will be answering it
till I'm
all
50
your
years
life.
old. And I have
I'm
no
so
problem with
sorry
it. I have no problem with it because it is true. It is true. In terms of work getting rejected is concerned, it does happen. And it does. Maybe for me, it more happens on the creative side of things. It may not align with the vision of the director or the producer. And even that, honestly, is a privilege. इस वजह से मना किया जा रहा है, ये नहीं कह रहे कि जी इसको बाहर निकालो.
कौन है ये, क्यों आया?
Exactly. And I'm very grateful for that. But at the same time, Ashiki was rejected as a melody twice. Just because it was aggressive, dark and aggressive, you know. And both times it got rejected. Both times I was like, "ये बुरी melody इसको फेंक दो," and then it kept haunting me again. And then I was like, album में डालेंगे इसको, and let's see if people
and
like
let's see
it.
what people think.
Yeah.
Do you think they will gravitate even towards the songs जिनके साथ videos नहीं है? आजकल की audience बहुत visuals पे dependent है, and you have some very visually appealing videos. उन videos की अभी हम बात करेंगे. आपको लगता है कि videos के ना हो, जिन गानों के साथ नहीं है वो भी सुने जाएंगे उतना?
See, it depends on what you look at as सुनेंगे कि नहीं. Because I used to be that kid who would be like, कितने number of views आए हैं, and that would determine whether it's good or bad. But as I said earlier, making music is sometimes like climbing a mountain. So it's like a single is going to help me go 10 steps up because maybe I remember higher height, more people can listen to it. But the other ones are the ones which will allow you to kind of hold those people and give them something more to listen to. It's just that for me, if I go to an artist that I like और मैंने उनका एक गाना सुना जो single है जो हर कोई सुन रहा है और मैं उनका म्यूजिक सुनने जाता हूँ, मुझे और कुछ मिलता नहीं है, मैं बहुत कम देर उनका म्यूजिक सुनूंगा. You get what I'm saying? So I don't have this notion that every song has to be a hit or every song has to be a chart buster. I'm aware of the difference of that, but universally I'm not doing anything new. What I'm doing is what's been happening for the past 100 years, which is you have 2 or 3 songs that are promoted and the rest are there, and the avid fan or the avid listener or audience listens to the rest of them. And the single is the one that maybe is like
that may draw them towards it'll get the eyeballs and the ears listening to the
but
song.
That doesn't mean we don't make the other songs, and that's for me that's more of like what I'm striving to do, which is that I don't want every time कि मैं जब बैठता हूँ कुछ compose करने, the only thought running through my mind is hit
और video ऐसी बने.
Absolutely. And the thing is that there are many examples in other mediums, चाहे वो television देख लें, चाहे film देख लें, कि कोई film आती है जो norm hit formula पे नहीं होती और वो अचानक से सब it becomes the rage. I think out of TV shows right now, Parijat is an example of that. That it's not a conventionally hit on paper material in that sense.
It's not a formula.
It's not a formula thing. Yeah. But if that wasn't made, at whatever cost it was made at, under the radar when it was being made, you would never have seen it. So the same thing goes with songs.
Do you think Ishkila has I mean that answer of yours just led me towards your acting career. हालांकि अभी मैं music का ही सोच रही थी. Does Ishkila follow a formula to some extent, do you think?
I don't think
Or do you
so.
think it is different also? And it has important messages woven into the story. But it's very sad. It's extremely sad. Were those parts difficult for you? I mean, इतने पिछले कुछ episodes पे तो there's been so much grief and your journey and how you're trying to get over the pain and then the anger that you're feeling. Were those parts difficult for you?
I think when Momina Bhabhi spoke to me about the project, so she had mentioned that they either wanted somebody who was very experienced or they wanted somebody who was brand new and could, make it as believable as possible. So, but she did tell me, she said, Azaan, ये एक conventional debutant का character नहीं है. And if you want to, this will be a lot of work. And it's an experimental subject in terms of जिस तरह narrative flow होता है. So do you want to do it? And I was very clear on one thing कि even in music मैंने conventionally उस तरह से चीज़ें नहीं की हैं. I went, right into the deep end with film scoring and soundtracks and stuff. So I like putting myself in a challenge. I like getting into stuff where I can learn a lot. So मैंने उसको सोचा, I was like, believe me, nobody was more nervous than I was.
But you like challenges.
I do like challenges. I also, for me, the thing that clicked was the production company. Amin sir as a director, obviously Momina Bhabhi as a producer. These are extremely, extremely good people in terms of skill set. They're really good. Then I looked at the cast, from the senior cast of Usman sir, Ghazala appa, Uzma appa, Simi appa, Adnan bhai, to my co-actors who I worked most with, Sajal ji, Yumna ji. They're fantastic, So, but at the same time, for a new actor, that they're going to overshadow you, and that's And honestly, that's fine because I'm not somebody who schemes. I'm not somebody who plots and plans कि मैं यूं करूँगा तो यूं दिखूँगा and all. I don't think like that. For me, I was like यार मुझे probably अगले 5-10 साल ऐसी opportunity नहीं मिलेगी कि मैं इतने अच्छे लोगों के साथ काम करके सीख सकूँ.
और एक script जो different है.
Exactly. So for me, that's why I got into it. I have no qualms to accept it.
It's a tough script for a debutant to take up.
But what it did for me, honestly, was that time on set with such good actors, such good professionals. It gave me like, a lifetime worth of experience in terms of what I can now bring on to other subjects and other, hopefully, projects. And for me, Ishkila will always be a hit for me.
ये बताएं कि जो आपके critics हैं, अभी मैं recording के बीच में बोल रही थी कि I don't think anybody hates you, Azaan, because you don't hate back. I mean, people say this, that about you. You never reply. Do you ever feel the urge to reply? पहले तो ये बताएं. जब कोई कहता है कि क्यों ये आया, क्यों है?
अच्छा, so I divided into 3 things in my head. One is somebody who's coming in. Firstly, people who give, and I have received some unconditional love, and I continue to, and I'm very grateful for that. There's no denying that. Then the second is people who come to me or I read where there's constructive criticism. कि Azaan ये बेहतर कर सकता था, Azaan वो बेहतर कर सकता था. And that I appreciate because I strive towards getting better at what I do, whether it's music, whether it's acting, whether anything I do. So when I read that, it makes me go back and think, because obviously there's tons of room for improvement, and I take that in a good way. And then there's a group of people which you would call trolls and all that per se or whatever.
Like, oh, we don't like that.
Yeah, well, who just think he should just vanish and he shouldn't exist on the face of the earth. So to them, I don't really care. Like, there's this dialogue from Gully Boy, which I'm going to repeat, which is कि तू मुझे बताएगा कि मैं क्या करूँ.
कोई क्यों बताए?
So it doesn't, them I don't think.
You'll follow your heart, you'll do things the way you want to do them. तो फिर वो जो critics हैं, शायद उनमें से कुछ वो trolls भी हैं, वो कहते हैं कि हम टीवी के ये ने adopt कर लिया है अजान समी खान को. ये हम टीवी के blue eyed boy हैं. आप हैं क्या? हम टीवी के blue eyed boy.
Blue eyed तो नहीं, ठीक है? मेरी brown
eyed.
Brown eyes. पहली बात. I don't think so, honestly, because yes, Hum TV is like home to me. Momina Bhabhi is a very...
Because you've grown up around these people?
Sure, in some ways, Momina Bhabhi is somebody who's played a very important role in my musical life as well as in acting, obviously. She's somebody who saw something before anybody else saw it, in terms of acting specifically. So there is a comfort zone, for sure. I do feel very at home with the whole team there, even with the album. When I was making it, I would speak to her sometimes, or speak to Dured Bhai sometimes, and I said, "मैं कर रहा हूँ." And Dured Bhai during Superstar promotions told me he wants to open a label. So when I had the songs ready, I shared them with them. I was like, "This is what I have, and I'm thinking of doing this." And they were all very forthcoming. Okay, let's do it. So there's a comfort zone. I feel like I'm at home there. However, I did Pare Heart Love as a music composer. That was ARY, and it's not like I haven't worked anywhere else. It's just that, stuff that's come my way has been with Hum TV, which is why it may seem that way to you.
So tomorrow, if some other production house comes to you, you will consider those options?
It's 100%. It's the script, it's the director,
So,
Absolutely.
it's okay.
No, I have no exclusivity. Like, I remember even asking guys at Hum, what should I do? And they were like, yeah, अच्छा script है, you should. So there's no thing like that.
वैसे भी कौन से कोई बहुत सारे channels हैं पाकिस्तान में, 3 हैं, 4 हैं, right? So as is, sometimes an actor ends up working with one channel, one team, वो एक comfort zone आ जाता है, एक understanding हो जाती है, right? So maybe that's it. Okay, so you're not Hum TV has not adopted
It's like home to me. I'm close to, I feel very comfortable there. And most of my work.
And I think they have faith in you.
That's the thing. I think, they believed in me, whether it's in music, whether it's in acting, before anybody else did.
अच्छा, and of course, unconditional love की अभी बात हो रही थी, तो yes, you, social media and general audiences may have their opinions, but you do have the love and support of some very important people. For instance, your videos, music videos, have been great and they've all been so unique. हर कहानी जो वीडियो में वो दूसरी से डिफरेंट है, हर वीडियो मेमोरेबल है क्योंकि उसके ग्राफिक्स इतने अच्छे पूरे वो डेवलप्ड हैं, द कॉन्सेप्ट एज अ स्टोरी, and they've been by A-list directors in Pakistan. So of course that's a privilege. But did you want each video to be that impactful? कि हर video ऐसी हो कि याद रह जाए?
Firstly, thank you that you liked them. I'll take a step back.
I liked एक लम्हा best videos में.
Thank you. So I'll take a step back. What I wanted to do with my videos was nothing new. It's something that I've grown up seeing my seniors do. अगर मैं बाहर देखूं artists that I grew up listening to, whether it's from the West, or even when I look here, you know, whether it's my father's music videos, whether it was, you know, growing up Junoon's music videos, Atif Bhai's music videos, Ali Zafar Saab's music videos. I grew up watching those videos that had a massive impact on my life, you know, and all directed by great directors. Asim Saab, for instance, being one of them, who did Mahi Ve. I even posted the other day about, I was 14 years old when I actually emailed him. I had the audacity to email him after watching Mahi Ve saying, ek din aap mera gana banayenge, you know. And the thing is that
really,
actually I have the email. I'll post it one day. And the thing was that these guys already set a standard. You know what I'm saying? So for me, when I was coming in, I was like, that's what I want to do. You know, I remember Sunre Sajaniya was a video that I loved. You know, and I remember the whole Duri album that came out, Atif Bhai's. I'm not mentioning my dad's because that's given. But
because you don't want to sound biased, that's what you said earlier.
It's given,
yeah?
right? You know, he had fantastic music videos. But I grew up with that, and for me, that was a very clear benchmark that, you know, okay, the video in independent music plays almost sometimes the same role as the music does. It sets a whole image in someone's mind. So that's where it came from. And then absolutely, I'm very, very lucky to have directors like Ehtisham Sir, Hassan Davar, Asim Saab, who were willing to work with me. And, you know.
So who came up with the concepts? Did you sit together and say कि ओ ये कहानी ऐसे लेके जाएंगे, वैसे लेके जाएंगे?
For instance, मैं तेरा at the Sham sir, I have a close relationship in the sense we have brainstormed together and things because from Superstar days, and so we always want, as far as मैं तेरा is concerned, we wanted this very you know, quaint little cafe and all of that. That's where the idea came from, and we wanted to explore infatuation as a theme, first love, infatuation and stuff. With so Ehtisham Sir came from that. As far as Ek Lamha came, him and I always spoke about the Karachi we knew about.
Nostalgia.
We used to always talk, you know, like my nani and Nana used to tell me about, and my khala, about how Karachi was.
Yeah.
He had his own memories and his parents said to him. So we want to one day create that, and we could do that through Ek Lamha, alhamdulillah. As far as Tu is concerned, that was my first time working with Hassan, which was tons of fun. He's a friend of mine, and we wanted to you know, delve into the stages of love.
Yeah.
So each theme, if you watch through,
it was very fantastical. The fantasy element
so they were literally falling in love. Literally गिर रहा है बंदा.
Yes.
And you know, stuff like that. And then as far as Jadugar is concerned, so it was you know, Asim Saab, and as I said to him, he's a father, I'm a father, and we wanted to, you know, for me it was very important, as I said, the album is personal, to talk about my kids and dedicate.
First time you talked about your kids?
I've spoken about them, but like a piece of everything of mine in some way is theirs, but I wanted a specific song that is
Azaan, but there was a time I remember when you did not want to talk about your family too much because your kids were younger and perhaps you didn't want the spotlight too much on them. But now in a caption, am I right in saying that?
I think I want them to have a fairly normal away from this life so that they can, you know, find their own path and things like that.
But you decided to put them out there in a caption.
Yeah.
And
I think इतना तो चलता है.
इतना चलता है. ये वाले एक वो नहीं है, मुझे एक पुराने वक्तों का एक कॉन्सेप्ट होता था कि हीरो है तो हीरो नहीं बताता कि वो 2 बच्चों का बाप भी है, to maintain that covetable status, कि you know, heart throb status maintain करने के लिए. आपने कभी ऐसा नहीं सोचा कि let's not tell them about. You got married very young, I know that, and so I don't think there's any such pressure to maintain a certain single heartthrob status. No, nothing of the sort.
I think I would like to believe that we, they're the biggest part of my life, and if anybody wants to know me, they've got to know them. You know, it's just that there's no hiding that. And as I said earlier, I don't scheme, I don't plan things like that. I'm not trying to portray anything other than what I am, and they're a big part of my life.
But do you want to be a hero or do you want to be an actor? जो ना हीरो बनना होता है उन्हें a lot of times those actors hide parts of their personal life because they want to be heartthrobs.
I don't think hero is hero anymore.
Yeah, we play characters now on TV. Yeah?
And that character may be heroic, but that character doesn't have to look a certain way or fit a certain mold to be a hero.
Yeah,
and even if that were the case, I don't think I want to be part of that because it's a very toxic world. I've grown up hearing producers say कि heroine चश्मे नहीं पहन सकती. I've seen
Really?
that, yeah,
Really?
absolutely. And I've seen, heard many such things, and the list goes on. So that's not a culture I want to associate with. I believe heroic acts and a hero is a very strong personality trait.
It's not somebody who necessarily
It's not
has to
somebody,
be a heartthrob.
exactly, not
Yeah?
somebody कि जी वो गुंडों से लड़की को बचाता है और वो फिर
10 लोगों को एक साथ मार
जी
देता
और वो
है.
अपने डोले दिखाता है. That's not necessarily a hero. It can be a character who looks like that, who does those things, and that character may be heroic and may not be heroic. But I don't want. I feel it's a very regressive, dangerous culture to be a part of, and I'm not. You know, I don't look at scripts that way.
You're so positive. Have you always been so positive? I mean, you've been through. There are complicated angles to your life. For instance, your father's nationality now being Indian means that you will sometimes get teased about it. People make comment about it. You know, आपके तो होता होगा, कुछ ना कुछ तो होता होगा ऐसा. तो have you still always been able to be this positive, or do you have your dark moments also?
I think I'm human, of course. I do have my dark moments. There are times when you feel like you're blamed for things that are not in your control, or you're dealing with consequences.
Does it irritate you, the questions about your father?
No.
They don't.
No, because the thing is, he chose a life for himself, and I respect that.
Are you close to him though?
Of course, he's my father, and but as I said, you know, when you are the son of somebody who people either love or hate or know about, and for me, musically, he's a legend, and the music industry, whether they like it or not, I have to accept that.
Agreed.
It's a lifestyle choice he made, and I respect him for that. I made mine. And I also will repeatedly say that on record, you have my statements are out there. So I will never go on and justify patriotism for the rest of my life. I work day and night in a certain industry, and that is my patriotism.
In a certain country,
Exactly.
in a certain industry.
So that is my patriotism, and I have nothing to prove as far as that's concerned. As far as my dad's concerned, I laugh at the memes. I think they're hilarious, and I think he probably does as well. But as far as it bothering me, not really. No. The only thing that maybe bugs me is that the newer generations are probably not exposed to his music, and they're more exposed to this stuff, which is a tragedy, but that's it.
Because he brought in such a range of new sounds, introduced such a different way of singing, of putting instruments together.
Yeah. You know, the truth is, when I hear musicians of today, not because he's my father,
you see little hints of his work.
I see hints of him through and through, from the biggest names to the newest artists. And I'll see stuff that he brought in where if you study music history, you will not see existed prior to him. And I'm very proud that that's a lineage that I belong to. For sure.
And yes, musically, of course, his in our subcontinent, his contributions to music are you cannot deny them. Coming back to your contribution to music, Jadugari. Jadugari में जो ये twist है end में narrative में, this was Asim and your idea in the video.
Yeah, so I remember we had countless discussions of.
It seems like a love song through and through until the kids come in.
That was the idea. That was the idea. I think he's a doting, devoted father, and I would like to believe I am as well. And I think that's somewhere where we bonded a lot. And that's
you're a doting, devoted father.
Yeah, they can pretty much make me do anything.
You're such a young father. You must go crazy with the kids anyway.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely. They can pretty much make me do anything. Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I have to see that someday.
Yeah.
And the album also has a Pashto song. It has a Punjabi song. Yeah. Was it difficult mastering the dialects?
So, I come from a Pathan family. Everybody around me speaks Pashto.
So you speak
My
Pashto
also? Okay-ish, not great. So any talaffuz problems, forgive me. I'll try and improve them later. But as far as I wanted to do something that is for like my people as well, where I culturally come from, and I plan to do more Pashto songs for sure.
And Punjabi.
And Punjabi, absolutely. Okay. Punjabi is something which is I may not belong to the culture, but I've heard so much Punjabi music in my life, and it's connected with me so much. So I wanted to do something in Punjabi for sure. And again, I just want to mention Shakil Saab, who passed away, who wrote most of my songs. It was the last song he wrote for me. You
also delved into rap with Ashiki. That was something new also.
So I don't claim to be a rapper at all. It's just, and I really thought about asking or like requesting another, professional rapper to feature on it. However, it's because of the intimacy of the song, and because, as I said, this album intended to be personal. Khan Saab featuring on Sajna Re is a whole separate
And
reason.
that's a very different sound also. राहत फ़तेह अली खान भी बहुत फर्क तरह से उसको लेके चले हैं,
Absolutely.
right?
So as far as first finishing Ashiki,
हाँ.
so that's why I was like, okay, I don't want to bring someone else in. I want to just attempt it. So I attempted it. I don't know if people like it or not, but it was like an attempt at rap. As far as Sajna Re is concerned, I'll firstly say that Khan Saab blessed the album for me. You know, I worked with him before on a couple of things, and unko maine sunaya, and I really thought he would say
अच्छा
no.
लग गया.
I thought he'd say no because it's very different to the stuff
Yes,
he's done.
it is.
But he's not who he is for no reason. And when he came in, it's just, he was magic. And it was a huge honor for me to work with him.
Good luck with getting known for the work you do. I
That's
think
it.
you're doing well enough on that
Thank you so much.
account.
Thank you so
so much.
Thank you.